I swear, movies like this constantly make me say to myself, if black people had powers, a vast majority of us would be Magneto. Hashtag Magneto was right. So See You Yesterday is the latest Netflix original movie and is directed by Stefan Bristol based on a short that he directed in 2017 and is produced by Spike Lee. And this tells the story of a young teen named CJ Walker played by Eden Duncan Smith and her best friend Sebastian Thomas played by Dante Critchlow. I hope I'm saying that right. And it tells the story of two super genius science prodigies, and they are developing not one, but two time machine devices that they believe will get them into Harvard or MIT and eventually NASA and get them out of their neighborhood. And while working on mastering these time traveling devices, tragedy strikes where CJ's brother Calvin, who's played by rapper Astro, is shot and killed, becoming the next in a very long list of unarmed black men and women shot by the police. And so CJ and Sebastian now use their time traveling device to go back in time to prevent the death of Calvin. But as Iron Man told Captain America in Avengers Endgame, if you mess with time, time tends to mess right back. And I mentioned this before in my Detective Pikachu review, but I love seeing black people being the leads in sci-fi fantasy films, books, television shows, comics, etc. because that's something you don't see very often. So that alone got me super excited to see this movie when I first saw the trailer. And it was also a nice nod, and I really appreciated how this movie threw in so many references to their graphic novel Black and the novel Kindred by Octavia Butler, which funny enough was a storyline that dealt with a black woman time traveling. Speaking of time traveling, like this movie gets major points for having Michael J. Fox cameo in this movie, and there's even a Back to the Future reference. So to that I say, bravo movie. And before you say spoilers, the Michael J. Fox thing was written in articles, so it is fair game. Speaking of articles, I saw articles describing this movie as Back to the Future meets Black Lives Matter. And I would say this movie is a little bit more complex than that. I would say this movie is Project Almanac meets Dope with the hate you give with a little bit of slight thrown in there. All movies which if you haven't seen, you should see them. And overall, I like this movie. I really enjoyed the chemistry between Eden and Dante Critchlow. Like, you could definitely believe that these two were best friends, and these two were the smartest two in the room. There was one character though, played by a friend of Sebastian. His name was Eduardo. I'm not sure the actor's name, but he was so over the top that I couldn't believe him as a real person. He kind of took me out the movie. And I don't know, just something about him and the way he was acting just didn't fit the tone that was presented in this movie. Also, something else that didn't fit for me, and I get it's a low budget movie. It's not a $200 million Marvel budget, and I'd even be surprised if it was a $20 million production. But the special effects for the time travel, like, granted, I didn't hate it, but it did look pretty bad and it was pretty cheesy. And when it happened, I kind of had a moment where I chuckled, and I know the movie wasn't trying to make me laugh, but I did laugh. But granted, it didn't take away my level of enjoyment for this movie. It just made me laugh because of how cheesy it was. When it comes to time travel narratives, it's very rare to see black people involved in those narratives, especially in the lead, because it's something that black sci-fi fans have known since forever. The further back you go in time, the worse it is for black people. That's why more times than not, you see time travel narratives focused through a white lens. Even a show like Legends of Tomorrow with the black characters, you see them going back in time to the 1800s and stuff like that. But yet, for the most part, they try not to focus on the racial aspects. They did it in maybe 2 episodes, but aside from that, they try not to deal with it because it is a heavy topic. And that's why these movies that do deal with real world issues do always hit me in the feels, because as a black man, it always pisses me off to see movies about racism, police brutality, white supremacy, etc. because it still exists today and you always feel helpless because you can't really do anything about it. That's why I said in my opening, if black people had powers, or in the case of this movie, we had access to some super science, we would all be like Magneto. We would all be about black liberation. We would have our own nation in Wakanda where no other people allowed. Stuff like that is one of the reasons why I owned the Fruitvale Station Blu-ray for years before I actually watched the movie, because I just knew I was going to get pissed off, especially since it was based on a true story. I see this on my news media every single day, and I didn't want to watch it in this fantasy context. So the thing that I love about this movie that they briefly touch on, they don't really hammer it too much. They do kind of touch on the famous Uncle Ben motto, with great power comes great responsibility. If you do have the power to change the past and therefore alter the the future, should you? Like, for example, granted they don't touch into this in this movie, but I'm just asking the general question. For example, if you have the power to stop slavery, should you do that? Because in stopping slavery, you're more than likely wiping out yourself, because then you're getting rid of the circumstances that your great-grandparents and your grandparents and eventually your parents would meet each other to have you. If you essentially wipe out slavery, you're possibly wiping out Charles Drew, who invented the blood bank and blood transfusions. And so this movie does touch on that in a small sense, and I kind of appreciate that. Now granted, with that said though, some of the rules around the time travel don't make any sense, especially when it comes to the end. I'm not going to spoil it, but I was just like, alright, I get why you had to do this, but at the same time, for the rules that you established, it doesn't make sense. And also with the ending, like, I think I get what they were trying to say, but I didn't like how it ended at all. But like I said, overall, I did enjoy this movie. I definitely think it's worth watching. And before I do give it a rating, I'm actually trying out a new rating system, because the rating system that I had previously I felt wasn't universal enough. Like, for example, my A rating, my top rating, is United States of Smash. If you don't watch My Hero Academia or anime period, you don't know what the hell that is. So I decided to change it up a little bit. So let me know what you think about it, but for a more detailed description of what my new rating system is, check out the description box below to get a sense of what it is. So for See You Yesterday, I would say it's a minor hit. So have you seen See You Yesterday? What did you think about it? Also, what are some of your favorite time travel properties? Let me know down in the comment section below. Also, if you can, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Links for that will be in the description box below. And be sure to give this video a thumbs up. It'll really help out the channel. And while you're at it, check out my other videos on this channel. And if you like what you see, please subscribe for more and let your friends and families and neighbors know about my channel to help me grow. And as always, I'll catch you guys next time.